In this video, we're looking at volumes of tetrahedrons and parallelepipeds. If you've never heard or even said that word before, then do have a go at saying it. I'll explain what it is in a moment. Let's start with a tetrahedron. A tetrahedron is a four-sided solid, so like a triangular-based pyramid, if you like. Okay, how would we go about finding the volume of that? Well, a pyramid of any kind has a volume of a third times the area of the base, so a third of base area times height. So our job is to work out the base area and the height area. Now let's add some vectors on there. So suppose that the vectors defining the base were a and b, and that the vector going up to the apex here was c. Well, we know how to find the area of that base. We've already done that because that's just our cross product in action, our vector product. So we know that our base area is just a half of a cross b and the modulus of that. So what about that height? Well, if we knew this angle up here, let's call that theta, then this height would simply be c cos theta, or rather modulus of c cos theta. So the height would be the modulus of c cos theta. So it's looking like we're done, right? The volume of the whole thing is a third times the area of the base, half modulus a cross b, multiplied by the height, which is modulus of c cos theta. Okay, well, we could stop there, but there's a nice insight. Because what do I have here? I've got the modulus of a vector times the modulus of vector times cos of an angle. Now, that angle, theta, happens to be the angle between c and a cross b. Because recall that a cross b gives us a vector which is perpendicular to a and b, and this height here by definition is perpendicular to both a and b, which lie across the floor, as it were. So what I've got is the dot product of a cross b and c. So this gives us a beautiful formula. The third times the half is 1/6, and what I've got then is the dot product. So it's a cross b dotted with c, and all I need to do is stick that inside a modulus just to ensure that it's positive, because the dot product does give negative results sometimes. So that there is the formula for finding the volume of a tetrahedron. Now this little bit in here has a name. It's called the scalar triple product. So the scalar triple product is just that bit inside there, which is a cross b dotted with c. You could actually have it the other way around, c dotted with a cross b, but that's the scalar triple product. And so the volume of a tetrahedron is just 1/6 of the absolute value, right, modulus of the triple product, the scalar triple product. So let's go ahead and apply that and work out some volumes. All right, so suppose our vectors a, b, and c were as follows. How do we do this? Well, we basically have to just find the cross product, the vector product first. So let's do that. I, j, k, 4, 1, minus 2, 2, 5, minus 1, and find the determinant of this matrix. So let's do this straight to column form. So it's I times, so up here it's minus 1 plus 10, so that's 9. Then minus j, so I'll just remember it's negative here. It's minus 4 minus minus 4, which is 0, so it didn't matter, it's just 0. And k, it's 20 minus 2, so 18. So there's a crossed with b. Now let's dot that with c. So 9, 0, 18, dotted with 3, minus 2, 6, gets me 27 plus 0, and 6 times 18. Can I do that in my head? 108 plus 108. Add these together and we get 135. So now all I need to do is divide that by 6. So 1/6 of 135 is 22.5. And we're done. That's the volume of that tetrahedron. Okay, let's now turn our attention to parallelepipeds. So here's a parallelepiped. It's basically like a three-dimensional version of a parallelogram. So it's got 6 sides. Each one is a parallelogram, and each of the opposite sides is a parallel plane to each other. So this face here is parallel to this. This top one is parallel to on the bottom, and the front face parallel to the back. And they're all the same. So the front is the same piece as the back, the top is the same as the bottom, the left is the same as the right, that sort of thing. Now, it turns out that a parallelepiped can just be dissected into lots of tetrahedrons. It's a bit easier to show if my starting parallelepiped is a simple cube. But you can explode out a cube into these 6 tetrahedrons, and you can kind of see how this works. If you slice your cube on the diagonal, you can see that you can fit 1, 2, 3 parallel tetrahedrons there, and all of those tetrahedrons actually are going to have the same area, volume rather, and you get exactly the same on the other side. The result of this is that our tetrahedron was just 1/6 of a parallelepiped. Now our tetrahedron formula had 1/6 in it, so if we just get rid of that 1/6, we've got the volume of our parallelepiped. So this tells us that if you have a parallelepiped, then its volume is just the modulus of the scalar triple product. So it makes it super easy to calculate. So let's have a go at that now. So we've got these 2 formulas, they're identical, just whether we have the 6th or not. So we've got 4 points here, P, Q, R, and S. We want to find the volume of the parallelepiped defined by PQ, PR, and PS. What does that mean? Well, it basically means if you've got the point P here, if we define it with those points, it's PQ, PR, and PS. Those 3 lines, effectively the vectors A, B, and C, define a parallelepiped. There is only one parallelepiped that has those 3 lines as the starting point, because everything else is just defined in terms of those, right? This is just C again, so this is just PS up here. This one here is just the vector B, PR, and so on. So our A is PQ, our B is PR, and our C is PS. And in fact, you could do these in any order. So shuffling the terms about inside your scalar triple product, you can get a positive and negative difference, but A crossed with C dotted with B would be fine. B crossed with C dotted with A would be fine, because as long as you take the modulus at the end, you get the same positive volume. Okay, so all we need to do now is work out what A cross B is. So what is our vector A? It's PQ, so it's the coordinates of Q minus the coordinates of P. So -1 minus 3 is -4, 4 minus 6 is -2, 1 minus -2 is 3. And our B here is PR. So coordinates of R minus coordinates of P, -3, -9, and 4. We might as well get C while we're at it, which is the coordinates of S minus coordinates of P. So 2 minus 3 is -1, 6 minus 6 is 0, -2 minus -2 is 0. That's going to make the final step nice and easy. A cross B, that is the determinant of this matrix I, J, K. Pop A in here, -4, -2, 3. Pop B in here, -3, -9, 4. And what do we get? Well, it's I times -8 plus 27, which is 19, minus J, and it's -16 plus 9, which is -7, but it's negative, so +7. Then it's K times 36 minus 6, that's 30. Now I just need to dot that with C. So 19, 7, 30, dotted with C, which was -1, 0, 0, and we just get -19, but our volume is the modulus of that. Therefore, the volume of this parallelepiped is 19. Okay, let's try another. So, given that the volume of the tetrahedron PQRS is 6, find the value of n. Okay, so our A is going to be PQ, our B is going to be PR, our C is going to be PS. So let's find A first, which is Q minus P. 1 minus 1 is 0. 8 minus 7 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay, nice and easy. A, that's good. B is R minus P, so that's 9 minus 1 is 8. 8 minus 7 is 1. Minus 1 minus 2 is minus 3. So A cross B is IJK, determinant of this matrix. So 0, 1, 1, 8, 1, minus 3. So what do we get there? Well, it's I times minus 3 minus 1, which is minus 4. Minus J, and it's 0 minus 8. That would be minus 8, but it's positive 8. K, 0 minus 8 is minus 8. So there's A crossed B. So I'm going to have to dot that with C. So what is C? C is P to S. So that is coordinates of S minus coordinates of P. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 5 minus 7 is minus 2. And then we've got N minus 2. So what I need to say is that the volume of this tetrahedron, which is 1/6 of this dotted with this, 1/6 of minus 4, 8, minus 8, dotted with 1, minus 2, n minus 2, should equal 6. Except, of course, it's the modulus of this which needs to equal 6. So let's just be super careful about that. I mean, I can definitely multiply through by 6, but we've got the modulus of this should equal 36. That means the dot product itself could equal positive or negative 36. So I've actually got two equations to solve. I've got the dot product equals 36. Let's do that one first. So minus 4, minus 16, and then minus 8n plus 16 equals 36. That's one option. Solving that gives me minus 8n equals 40, and that means n is minus 5. But the other option was that this dot product was equal to minus 36, because then if it is, then its modulus is still 36. That gives me minus 8n equals minus 32, giving n equals 4. So two solutions there. I should have said find the values of n. Two possible values of n that both give the same volume. So let's just see if this makes sense. I'm in GeoGebra here, and I've got the 4 points P, Q, S, R and S here. And of course, S in our original question depended on a value n, and I can slide n about, and you see that's changing the Z value. So we seem to have discovered that the volume of the tetrahedron formed by these points could be 6 at different instants. So let's see if that works. In GeoGebra, I can form a pyramid by creating a base triangle and then pulling it up to a vertex. And at the moment, we see the area, and it's tiny writing, as 3.33. Sliding this n down, that volume hits 6 when n is minus 5, and we discovered that. So it's this rather flat looking, very wide tetrahedron there, has a volume of 6. Similarly, if I increase this and increase this, the volume goes down, but then comes up again and is 6 again when S is up here. So that's quite nice. It actually bears out what we discovered in the algebra, that there are two values of n for which the volume of this tetrahedron is 6. Okay, that is all on tetrahedrons and parallelepipeds for now. I'll see you in the next video.